Hi guys, Asmo here, welcome to Act 3. Last time we finished Act 2, the guide is getting really great feedback, so I'm going to try to continue giving you as many tips and as much insight into the leveling of this character as I can, starting with what I do right after Vol usually, and that is making sure that I put some resists on my wands. So since you have these crafted wands that I told you to not augment, and that was for exactly this purpose. For one transmutation orb, we can put 16 to 20% elemental resistances, and you get to pick whichever resistance you need, so that way you don't have to rely on randomly getting some mod on those weapons, and that is very helpful. It helps you make sure that you're gonna have decent resist for this act. In this act, at first you need a little bit of fire, and then some lightning, and then later on cold if you're doing library, but we are not doing library on this character, so just mostly lightning. Lightning is pretty important as well as fire in this act. So we're gonna talk to Clarissa after killing that box, and we are still going to be using the Orb of Storms, the Stormblast Mine, and the Frost Bomb, because for now they are still the most efficient way of just running and killing packs right behind us. We have 4-link boots, but we also have movement speed boots, and we're gonna stick to those movement speed boots that also have right colors. The evasion base is not likely to roll a lot of blue, so we're not gonna bother with that. I changed this ring. That was actually a little bit of a mistake, because I sacrificed a lot of lightning resist for fire res, and sure, fire res is gonna be very helpful, but I should have actually replaced the other ring that I was wearing. Because I completely forgot that Piety in Crematorium deals so much lightning damage, so I actually got chunked by her. And if I had this other ring, the topaz ring that I have in my inventory, then I would be in a much better shape. So I had a little bit of an unbalanced resist, and that caused a little bit of problems, but you should be perfectly safe no matter what your resistances are at this point. We're going close to the clever construction node, so soon our mines are going to be indestructible. Now we're in Crematorium. In Crematorium you want to make sure to do the trial, and usually if you have decent fire res, you can just pretty much walk all over this floor is lava thing. Don't bother killing that much here, because it's a pretty tricky zone to navigate, but you can use smoke mines and flame dash to dash through the crates. So whenever the walls are not solid walls but just like a grid thing, then you can dash through that as well as through the doors. That makes it a little bit faster, and you can cut corners by just going through the walls pretty much. If you find the trial, usually if you continue going deeper to either left or right, you're gonna find the Piety and the gang with another recipe that you can unlock. So again, you wanna pre-stack some mines. I throw them all over because if the ads are still alive, the Piety cannot be killed. You actually need to kill the ads first and then the Piety. And also they add nasty things like they can shock you and stuff like that. But here you can see she's actually chunking me pretty hard, and I get shocked because my lightning resist sucks right now, because I switched the lightning ring off in favor of the fire res. So I'm like opening the inventory now, I'm like, should I do this? Ah, he's almost dead. Doesn't matter now. So we get the Tolmonth stuff, and then we can get the key to the sewers. From this quest you actually get a reward, and here I also have a nice helmet which I'm going to equip. It gives me a lot of life and double res, so that's amazing. I can replace my shitty helmet, but the thing that I'm missing now is the green socket for the smoke mine, so I ended up using Jeweler's Orb. This is an evasion base, so it was likely to roll a green socket, and that way I have that issue solved. Because I didn't have any chromatics, right? So now we're using a better rings, and we also pick up conductivity from what's her name, Mara Moa. And conductivity, you can level it in your offhand. You're not gonna be using it early on, but unless you really wanna, you can put it on bosses. But it takes a lot of APM, a lot of effort to put that on bosses. Usually you kill them pretty quickly. And also we're gonna start using different type of damage later for killing bosses, but you want to have it leveling in your offhand because at some point in the future we're gonna have like a curse on hit setup, so that's gonna be very useful. In the sewers, you'll find usually the 3 busts. The first one will be before the waypoint and the other 2 will be after the waypoint. So that's usually, once you find the first one, you want to move toward the waypoint, and then there's also like a short skip here that I was showing recently in a video featuring a lot of smoke mine skips. It's just like a little skip you can do, mostly for just for, I don't know, just being efficient if you like being efficient, because a lot of the time you have to like aim and it's pretty difficult to do. You have to practice it. So we found another bust, and basically you give them for a skill point in town. You can unlock a hideout here. The icon that you see, like a blue lily, is an icon for a hideout. Clever construction done. So now we can stack a lot of mines. We don't have to detonate them before they get destroyed. We don't have to pay attention to like throwing them behind targets, because for example, if you're fighting different bosses, different enemies, a lot of the time you want to throw the mine slightly behind them, so that when they cast a skill toward you, the mines don't get destroyed by their attacks and spells. Get a lot of gems to level. Anytime you level gems, you have like a little power spike, and the later the game goes, the bigger the power spike is. The difference between like level 3 and level 4 is not as big as level 16 to 17 or something like that. You pick up the waypoint here, it's very important, and then you go into the catacombs so that you can complete another trial of ascendancy. You can find trials by looking at that kind of a book that you see on minimap here. When you see the book icon, that usually will mean that there's a trial, but of course it also can mean that there is like a lore piece to read. But as you can see in the top left, I can see a book, so that means it's going to be the trial here. That way you can know quickly in which direction to go if you want to find the trial. Picking up, I do a bad job of picking up silver coins. I value them pretty low, but they can be very useful early on during the leveling. At some point before you finish the story, you can get like a very useful prophecy, for example, that grants you a 5 link. You can get so many cool prophecies. So if you pick them up, make sure to talk to Navali regularly. We're checking for a 4 link as well. Once you hit level 24, the vendors will start to offer you 4 links. It's going to become possible for them to offer 4 links, and from level 24 basically you want to keep checking vendors for the 4 links. And in this case, the setup that we are running, we will need green and 3 blue. So 1 green and 3 blue is the ideal 4 link, or like int base, right? So an item that requires a lot of intellect is going to be likely to roll a lot of blue sockets, and that's what we would like. In the Battlefront, so here people differ on the order, but I like doing it, and I think it's the more efficient way of doing it, because you like save time of unnecessary load screens by doing Battlefront, then Docks, and then Solaris. Like I never go to Solaris before Docks, because I would only do that if I was like really low level. But as you can see, I'm level 25, which is perfect right now to go to the docks. You want to be like at least 24 to go to docks. If you're below 24, then I would say yeah, go do Solaris, but I'm never that low, so 25 is a perfect time to go to the docks, because if you're like 5 level below, or actually 6 levels below, then you start getting penalty here, I think. So 25 we're fine, we're getting pretty good XP here. Chaos. And you want to skip the Fairgraves quest. You can see this exclamation mark. We know that that's one of the quests, but there's a Fairgraves quest that you definitely want to skip, because it gives you just like an amulet or a ring or something. Like I always skip the Fairgraves quest. I don't bother pick up his item from the marketplace, and getting like the plum or whatever that item is called from the gardens. So that's something that I definitely recommend skipping. Now we can check for 4 links again. I consistently keep checking for 4 links, because once you get a 4 link, your damage is just going to skyrocket, and soon we're gonna be able to get Pyroclast Mine, and with that it's absolutely insane damage on a 4-link, just melts bosses completely, especially if you manage to get like a long detonation chain. So now we can go to Solaris. Solaris is very straightforward, there is nothing to do there, just go through it and find Diala or Diala or whatever the lady's name is. I usually pick up the Int amulet from her because we have some mana issues, but we have enough dex and we don't need strength for anything. So I usually pick up the Int amulet, or could be also rarity amulet. That's also not bad if you are like not in need of more mana, for example. Picking up the waypoint here.
Yeah.
Strong boxes are good to do, especially like if you want to do strong boxes and you don't identify them, then it might be good to have a flask that stops you, like that freeze immune flask, right? The off heat, basically suffix off heat, and basically you pop that whenever you open a strong box, and then you cannot get frozen, or you do it reactively if you want, but just make sure that you have charges on it. We get a useless amulet that doesn't do anything for us. The one that we are wearing is much better, so we go back to the sewers. There is this way the skip is way easier. You can do it like very consistently. You just learn which spot on your health globe to point at, and you can do it every single time. So that saves time. And here also you want to jump up instead of walking around. So for Gravicious, which is the fight that is incoming now, you want to make sure that you have some fire res. So if you have like spare ruby ring or something, you can equip that, because he can do a lot of damage. Like he can burst you down with this, like whatever the attack is, when he throws his weapons or something at you, and then that explodes, while also at the same time there is like a rain of fire thing happening. So yeah, that's kind of tricky. At first you have to get through his like molten shell and energy shield, which takes a lot of damage, soaks up a lot of damage, but then after that he's easy to kill. He is very tanky though. He like resists elemental damage, resists chaos, so it's pretty tanky. This attack, like when he throws these 3 things, that is pretty deadly if that hits you. Just continue running. As you can see, I'm still getting onslaught from Frost Bomb, but this is the point where the Frost Bomb is starting to just get out, you know, out-muscled by the minions' health. Like, not minions' health, but the monsters' health. So monsters are starting to get a little bit more health now, and we're still killing stuff, we're still getting onslaught, but it's starting to get harder and harder to kill them. Especially because we're not that high of a level. I think I'm like 26 right now, something like that. And you want to be 28 when you fight Piety. I think that would be ideal, because then you can use Pyroclast Mine, and that will let you deal so much more damage. That's at least how I like to do it, but it takes a while. Like, you basically have to make sure that you're on track to reach level 28, and if you see like you're far, let's say you're like 26 like me here, you gotta start killing more monsters. Like this blue pack, you have to kill them. You have to make sure that you're killing as much as possible. At this point I still keep looking for 4 links, like every time I level. Right now, as you can see, that I'm right before leveling, so I make sure to go to town and check the vendors. I also pick up the Pyroclast Mine. If you have a chance orb, you can also buy the ball lightning and level it in your offhand already. We are not going to switch to it for some time, like for a pretty long time actually, because ball lightning is pretty weak at early levels, but it gets much stronger with levels. So every level it gets stronger. I also craft my second one, so I pick up a decent base. I find it in one of the vendors, make it magic again, and we are using a rare topaz ring to get the level 20 requirement recipe, and make sure to also put back resistances on it so that our resistances are not lowered. As you can see, above 70, like 72, 75, 75, so pretty good resists, and we're pretty safe, although we still have very low health. Like this is a very low amount of health. Like this amount of health, sometimes you have it on like on Val. So this is one thing that my character is doing pretty badly at, because we're not wearing a chest piece yet because I haven't found any good one. Like if I found a good chest piece or even just a 4-link, then I would be wearing that, but for now we don't have it. It's like a lot of extra health that we are missing. Just continue going up the stairs here, and if the stairs go in one direction, it's never gonna go, like if the stairs go to the top left, then it's gonna be like bottom left next. But it's never gonna be like top right or bottom right. It's never gonna go to the opposite side or like loop around. It's always kind of consistently in one direction. Be careful of these, like when you have vulnerability, you can see I have vulnerability right now, and bleed and maim and whatever else, that's extremely dangerous. And this is also extra physical damage, I think, aura on that rare minion monster. So that's very, very scary, so be careful of that. Like here monsters can also curse you with projectile weakness. So if you have like vulnerability, projectile weakness, and there is like an LMP or extra physical damage rare, and they start shooting you, you just get demolished. You can see here another extra fizz, very, very deadly zone if you have very low health here. So make sure you have at least good flasks if you have low health.
Portal.
We are close to leveling. As you can see, I'm like trying to kill everything because I want to make sure that I get to level 28 so that I can use the Pyroclast mine. So much damage I'm taking, and again maim and vulnerability on me, so that increases the physical damage they're dealing to me as well. Here you can see the 2 cards, and you want to go toward the direction that there is 1 card. Always go when there is the 1 thing as opposed to where there are 2 things. So in the Lunaris, in the later acts, I think it's like Act 7, you want to go where there is 1 plant instead of 2 plants, and here you want to go where there is 1 card instead of 2 cards. So at this point I'm gonna level now, so this is where I want to probably TP to town and fix up my links and equip the mine, right? So I want to make sure that I can equip the Pyroclast mine, and we're gonna link it with trap and mine damage and elemental focus. Elemental focus is probably the best damage link that you can put right now into this skill. Another one, if we had a 4-link, would be added lightning. That would be what we would put, either added lightning or also could be controlled destruction, depending whether like how much crit you have and so on. But controlled destruction or added lightning, whichever one you had,
Portal.
if it's leveled appropriately, that would be good. I also recommend leveling another elemental focus in your offhand, because we're gonna be using that for Pyroclast mine and also for arc mine, and then later ball lightning. So we're gonna be having like 2 mine setups at the same time, one for single target, one for multi-target. Also I'm leveling Wrath for like later game. So here we make sure to turn on our auras, we place all of these, and then we detonate them and keep placing them where the boss stands so that she gets absolutely melted. Very, very easy fight, because we had the wand craft, because we hit the level 28 and linked the Pyroclast mine, and that's even on a 3-link. On a 4-link she would get melted even faster. So Pyroclast mine has an extreme single target damage. The drawback of it is that you have to have a boss not move away from it, because that way he can dodge it very easily. As you can see, I'm not wearing a chest piece. I put it on just after the piety fight. I got a chest piece so that I can put my arc mine setup, and the arc setup is blast chain mine, arc, and I think elemental focus as well. Either elemental focus or added lightning damage, one of the 2. And with that we're basically going to level now with arc. It's pretty straightforward. Arc is very nice for clearing. It's also pretty decent for bosses sometimes. Like for some bosses you will notice that I use arc mines, and for some bosses I will use Pyroclast mine. That will depend largely on whether I think the boss will move or not. If the boss is not likely to move, then I will use Pyroclast Mine because it still has bigger, higher damage potential. But the arc mines are also decent, especially if you want to stack it from the distance, because certain bosses have like a trigger range. So if you walk too close to them, and in order to put the mine right on top of them, they will trigger. But if you put the mines further away and you stay further away, then you will be able to do that ahead of time, and that's something you can do with arc mines. And even then after that you can switch them and mix and match them however you want. And I definitely recommend playing around with them and seeing what works best. Also, you will notice that some attacks of monsters that I'm running I also kill with Pyroclast mines because it's just more single target damage. We find a unique strongbox here, which is very cool. A lot of the time you will find extra surprises while you're leveling. Yeah, like you'll find cool uniques drop that you can use. You'll find some currency. You'll find some like rares that, or maybe gems that change what you would normally do. And that's part of the fun where you have to adapt and figure out what you're supposed to do. We find 2 4-links here, so that's amazing. However, I still don't have chromes. Yeah. I need blue, green, and neither of them is that. The boots could roll blue, green, but also I would need some good stats on them because the ones I'm wearing actually do give me movement speed, or I would have to have an open prefix in order to craft the movement speed with 3 augmentation orbs. In the Scepter of God, it's super straightforward. You just keep going up, you keep going to like the opposite side of the room. That's where the stairs are going to be. So if you're like in the top right of the map, try to go toward the top left. If you're on the left, try to go right, and so on. And then you just go to the rooftop and fight Dominus. The resistance that you want for this fight is mostly lightning. So if you're capped lightning, you can basically tank his beam. Even with a low health like I have, I can tank his beam. Don't tank his slam though, his slam can kill you. But other than that, it's pretty easy. These mobs are pretty annoying because they move a lot, so the Pyroclast mine will definitely be a bit awkward. And also I'm pretty squishy because I have very low health. Usually I would expect to have like 800 health here at least. So that's pretty low amount of health, but we basically hide a little bit, we dodge some skills, and we level up in the process to level 30. So this is a good time to be level 30 at the Dominus fight. And we kill the odds and then soon Dominus after. Our damage should be a bit higher because we should have a 4-link at this point, but you know, never lucky. If you don't have a 4-link at this point, it's still not that hard. As you can see, I'm just standing in the beam and don't care about it. I can tank it completely. That's what you can do if you max your resistances, right? You can just ignore so much of the mechanics because you can just tank the damage. We just pre-stack the mines. Make sure to use your mana flask. It's definitely very useful on a miner to replenish the mana right after you detonate the mines, and a bunch of the mana becomes unreserved again. And use your life flask, stay in the bubble, and that's it. So that's Act 3. Next we're gonna continue with Act 4 and gonna talk a little bit about how to gear from there on and which skills are we gonna be using. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you guys for watching and see you next time.